Good day, Simon.
Good day, Bruce. How are you today?
I'm feeling a lot better, thank you very much. Yes.
At last.
Finally.
And hello to everyone listening to us.
Yes, hello.
If it's your first time tuning in, welcome to the show.
Hello.
If it's your millionth time tuning in, welcome to the show.
Hello.
I'm Simon Wells.
I'm Bruce Fielding.
We are both professional voiceover artists, hence the luxurious sounds that you are currently listening to. And when we're not doing that, we are doing this. We are both nerds.
How dare you?
Own it, Bruce, own it.
All right. Okay, fair enough.
We are fact-loving, trivia-researching, pub-quizzing kind of fellas.
Yes. You just got to roll as a pub quiz host.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, my dream job. Having been to so many of them, I now get to host them. So,
you lucky bugger.
All very exciting.
Wow.
And so here we are. Once a week we come here to this beautiful space that we call Factoraly. We pick a random subject and we chat about it.
We do that.
And you get to listen. Lucky you. Now, oftentimes on Factoraly, if we have a subject that's particularly chunky, we sort of try to whittle it down a bit. There's an awful lot of editing that goes on in post-production. I warn you now, I think this is going to be a long episode because there's a lot of material in here, and I think it's all good. I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to cut out, so strap yourselves in.
Strap in. The other great thing about podcasts, of course, is you don't have to listen to it all in one go.
Oh, no, of course. You can do this in several turns, can't you?
Yes.
On your coffee break.
Several coffee breaks, in fact.
Indeed.
So what's... Look, every week we say, so what's this week's subject? They've all looked on their podcast player.
That's
true.
They
know what it is.
They've seen the title.
They've probably already started to smell the coffee.
Yes.
Isn't that an expression? Wake up and smell the coffee?
Wake up and smell the coffee is an expression, yes. There's a movie called Roxanne starring Steve Martin, who has a particularly large nose.
Cyrano, it's a take on Cyrano de Bergerac.
That's right, yeah. And he insults himself by saying, it must be wonderful to wake up and smell the coffee in Brazil.
Yes, I remember that.
Lovely. Good film.
Good film.
So here we are. We are talking about coffee today. Bruce, what's your personal take on coffee?
Don't like it, don't drink it.
Excellent.
And how about you?
I love it, and I drink probably way too much of it.
So what is it that you like about it?
I like the flavour, I like the smell, I like the warmth, I like the slight buzz that you get from the caffeination. Although the more you drink of it, the less effective that caffeine hit becomes. You sort of become immune to it. Someone who hardly ever drinks coffee, if they have a strong coffee, they really notice the effect. Yeah. If you're something of an addict like me, not so much. But I just enjoy
is it anything? I mean, does Red Bull have an effect on you or anything like that?
Yes, it makes me feel sick.
Okay.
Because I don't like the taste.
See, I think coffee's an acquired taste, a bit like beer.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't like beer either. Because they both, to me, taste very bitter and horrible.
They are quite bitter, yeah.
Yes.
I've been on a bit of a journey with coffee. I used to drink sickly sweet, syrupy, milky coffees, sort of hazelnut lattes and things like that. And someone tried to introduce me to black coffee, the way it's meant to be drunk, and it was disgusting. Tried it again, bit less disgusting. Tried it again, quite nice. Tried it again. Oh, okay, this is my beverage of choice now. So I drink black coffee, properly brewed, made from grounds.
So when you say sweet, you know Kierkegaard?
No.
You know, life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. Him.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So he liked coffee.
Okay.
He liked it very strong and very, 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 very sweet.
Huh.
What he used to do is this is in small coffee cups, but he would pour enough sugar to make a pyramid in a cup.
Okay.
That would go above the height of the cup.
Oh, heck.
And then he'd fill it with strong coffee.
Wow.
And then once the sugar had dissolved, he'd drink it all at once. He had a collection of 50 different coffee cups.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people know that about Kierkegaard.
No, not a lot of people know Kierkegaard. You can get nerdy about coffee, You can get really nerdy about so many things. You know, there were wine enthusiasts, beer enthusiasts, cheese enthusiasts, coffee enthusiasts. It comes with paraphernalia, it comes with equipment, it comes with brewing processes. You can grind your own beans to the required fineness. You can use various different brewing methods, from filter to drip to AeroPress to espresso machines to everything, of which I have a couple myself.
You have a couple of espresso machines?
No, a couple of different things. I have a stove-top espresso maker. I have a good old-fashioned filter machine.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an AeroPress. I've got a drip filter where you can just make one cup. And they're all different. They're all uniquely different. They all have their own characters and attributes and tastes and strengths and things. You can get quite nerdy over it.
So the only bean that I really like is a cocoa bean.
Okay, yes.
So I'll have that with hot milk.
Yeah.
But we talk about coffee beans,
which we know from our previous episode on berries are not beans.
They're not berries.
Well, no, they are berries. They were one of the ones that were, yeah.
Oh, damn. I thought they were cherries.
Well, they're called cherries, but they're berries.
Okay.
Confusing. I'll tell you what, let's start with the word, because that's always fun.
Let's start at the very beginning.
It's a very good place to start. So the English word coffee comes from the Italian caffè, which comes from Dutch koffie, which comes from Turkish café, which comes from Arabic kahwa.
Very nicely pronounced.
And it's got a long history. Coffee was first discovered. It's a native plant in Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
First noticed in the 13th century. Legend has it a goat herd saw his goats eating the fruit of the coffee plant and acting in a frenzied and energetic way.
Dancing.
Yes. So he started to pick the stuff and see what else he could do with it.
I mean, you wouldn't do that, would you? If you saw your dog doing something stupid after eating something, you wouldn't go, I wonder if that'll do the same to me.
No, I'm not sure you would. I don't think so, no. And then it was actually first cultivated. People sort of started growing it en masse and specifically using it to make a drink from in Yemen in the 15th century.
Okay.
From Yemen, it went to the Arabian Peninsula, then to the Middle East. You think of sort of coffee culture in places like Persia, Egypt, Turkey.
The Ottoman Empire.
Absolutely, yeah. That was around the 16th century, and then it sort of made its way into Europe around the 16th, 17th century, and then it just spread. The Italians obviously got hold of it quite strongly and did lots of interesting things with it. They invented the espresso and the cappuccino, but essentially it just started off as this black, thick, gritty stuff. They didn't even used to bother filtering the grounds out. They just almost ate it like a soup.
What did they use it for?
To drink.
Well, yes, but also it was kind of like a religious rite.
Oh,
especially
really?
in Ethiopia, yeah. They used it in religious ceremonies and as medicine and things like that.
Oh, didn't know that.
It's been attributed with all sorts of medicinal properties. It's mostly things like headaches and stuff.
Okay.
But you can sprinkle wounds with coffee powder.
Right.
You can mix it with honey and it treated diarrhea.
Oh.
It's also a preventative medicine, and the smoke produced from the roasting is said to kill vectors.
Really?
And eliminate any cause of sickness.
Wow.
Because basically the smoke goes to and appeases the spirit that guards a person's well-being.
Right, okay.
It cleans the skin, dries up the humidities, gives an excellent smell to all the body. This is all things that have been attributed by a physician called Razes in Yemen.
Right, okay.
Back in the 11th century.
Yeah.
He said it was used by Sufis so they could stay up all night to pray.
Oh, so the power of the caffeine.
Yes, the caffeine would keep them awake and allow them to pray through the night.
Yeah, yeah. You can use it to clean your floor.
Can you?
If you have hardwood floors, you can sprinkle ground coffee on the floor and then sweep it up, and it acts as a mild abrasive to clean up all the dirt, as well as making your house smell of coffee.
Oh.
Which, if you like the smell of coffee, is good.
I know you can sprinkle it on icy paths, and it gives you grip in the ice. It doesn't actually melt the ice very well.
Okay.
But it makes it grippy.
How interesting.
Oh, it also cures alcoholism.
Does it?
apparently.
Wow.
In the early 1600s, that was basically, it was said that coffee cured alcoholism. Also, it prevented gout and scurvy and miscarriages.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently. Okay, so we're probably going to come on to him in a minute. A guy called Pascal Rosé.
Yes.
We'll explain who he is in a minute. But a quote from him was that it is observed that in Turkey, where this is generally drunk, that they're not troubled with the stone, gout, dropsy, or scurvy, and that their skins are exceeding clear and white.
Wonderful.
Yes. But anyway, we'll come on to Pascal later on.
Yes, absolutely. He's a bit of a hero of mine.
He is a bit. So more about coffee. It's out in Ethiopia and it's out in Yemen and it's out in all these places.
Yeah, and it's sort of gradually made its way into Europe. And it was popular all through the sort of the 1600s. Coffee was being drunk in England long before tea became our national drink.
Well, you say it was popular. In the 16th century, there was a guy called Suleiman the Magnificent, which I like.
Wow, self-proclaimed.
Yes. So he was the head of the Ottoman Empire, and he saw the rise of the coffee house. And what was happening is that these coffee houses were spreading throughout capitals like Istanbul, for example, and all sorts of people would like go to a coffee house.
Yeah.
And he saw it as a place that was ripe for fermenting insurrection.
Oh, really?
Because he could see the coffee house as being the place where, these things would start. And there were sort of scholars and everybody from scholars to soldiers would be at home in a coffee house.
Yeah.
In fact, it was like, we have the third space now.
No, what's that? I'm not familiar with that.
So you've got home, office and somewhere else.
Oh, I see what you mean, yes.
So the third space can be a pub, it can be, a coffee shop.
Yeah.
It can be somewhere where you go that isn't home or isn't the office.
Yeah.
So in Istanbul, it was the fourth place because apart from home and work, you also had the mosque.
Of course, yes.
So the coffee house was like an alternative to home where you worked or the mosque.
How interesting.
And they were quite popular.
Yeah. The first coffee house that I've seen made reference to in this country was in Oxford in 1650. And just as you said, all sorts of people gathered there. They were a really unifying place. There was sort of an unspoken rule that anyone was allowed. It was a social leveller.
Yes.
There was an unwritten rule in some coffee shops that no man of a lower class should be forced to vacate his seat to that of a higher class.
Can I just pull you up on one thing that you said there?
You may.
Man.
Yes, I think it was men only at the time.
Yes, most coffee houses were men only up until quite late on.
Yeah, of course. So they were levellers, working class intellectuals, everyone in between. In Oxford, they were sometimes referred to as the penny university.
Yes.
Because you could pay a penny to get into the coffee house, get your coffee, and then just sit around and talk, read the newspaper, hear the gossip.
Listen to educated people discoursing on matters of the day.
Exactly, yeah.
So Suleiman the Magnificent was also known as the Grand Vizier.
Right.
And when he closed all the coffee houses, he actually banned coffee.
Oh.
And if you were caught drinking coffee, the penalty was to be sewn into a coffee sack and drowned.
Oh, my goodness.
So, you didn't want to drink coffee.
Wow.
Although they got a bit too popular, especially in Istanbul.
Okay.
By the end of the 1800s in Istanbul, there were 2,500 coffee shops.
Goodness me.
That's 1 in 6 shops in Istanbul was a coffee shop.
Wow.
I mean, and we moan about the Costas and Starbucks taking over the high street here.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine 1 in 6?
That's crazy.
But I guess it was if you're a Muslim, it's a great place. It's like the pub without alcohol.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That was sort of the part of the rise. You said they were a cure for alcoholism. They were really a good place to go and do business. Because you weren't sort of under the influence of alcohol. You were drinking this stimulant that wakened you up and livened you. It was a great place to do business. The London coffee shops of the 17th century, they sort of became the centre of trade and the stock exchange and the insurance companies would all meet in coffee shops and ply their daily trade. There were a few particularly popular coffee shops in London in the 1600s, one of which was called Lloyd's Coffee House. And that
I've heard of them.
Yeah, that became particularly popular with sailors and merchants exchanging the news and the current affairs of their naval life.
Yeah.
And insurance brokers started meeting there and doing their insurancy stuff. And Lloyd's Coffee House became Lloyd's of London.
Oh, wow.
The insurance company that deals with insuring sea travel.
Yes, and everything else in
the world.
But also there was another coffee house, I can't remember the name of it, that became the stock exchange.
So there were... These coffee shops all sort of seemed to be centred around the city, sort of around the area that we now know as Bank. So they were quite close to the Royal Exchange near Cornhill. And so they were all sort of interconnected. You know, you'd sort of go and do your trading in the Royal Exchange and then you'd nip over to the coffee house and do a few little side hustles.
Oh, wow.
So let's go to the process of making coffee, how coffee works.
Okay.
So the fruit that grows on the coffee plant, as you said, is called the coffee cherry. Mm-hmm. It isn't a cherry. It just happens to be small and red. It's technically a berry. Inside the fruit is a coffee bean, which isn't technically a bean. It's the seed of the plant.
Yes.
And when you get those beans out, they're sort of a light green colour. You roast them. You grind them up, either quite coarse or quite fine, depending on what you're going to do with it. Then you pour hot water through it. You drink the water, that's coffee.
Yes.
That's the very, very basic version of what coffee is and how coffee works.
Okay. But these things happen in different places.
Yeah.
So, you talked about roasting the coffee. You don't roast the coffee where you pick the coffee.
No.
In fact, there are a lot of coffee growers who have never tasted their own coffee beans.
Oh, really? Yes, I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, because the roasting is done. What makes the difference in the taste and the flavour is the roasting.
Yes. Yeah.
And the roasting is done locally because a roasted bean doesn't last very long.
Yes, true. Yeah.
So you might say, I got this fabulous, this really nice coffee bean from so and so. The coffee bean is kind of the same bean as you would have. There's two basic types. So the one that was grown in Ethiopia, strangely enough, is called an Arabica. So you've got an Arabica bean. And then what happened was there was a disease that went through all the coffee and killed off a lot of the Arabica coffee plants.
Right, okay.
Which is called coffee rust.
Oh.
And coffee rust was a real problem until they came up with a new strain of coffee, which was more, shall we say, robust. So then you had Arabica
and Robusta. Brilliant.
And that's why you have the two styles of bean.
That's great.
And then it's all down to how you roast them.
Yeah. I would imagine that location and local weather and things like that affect the essence of a bean in the same way that different grape regions would affect the taste of the wine. Hot, cold climate, high altitude, low altitude, moisture in the air, all that sort of stuff must play some kind of impact because you go to a coffee shop and they have this huge menu.
Yes.
Yes, okay, there are only two basic types, but of those two basic types, do you get a Costa Rican one, a Brazilian one, etc., etc.?
Yes.
So that was it. It was just a black drink for a very, very long time. Allegedly, we can trace the addition of milk to coffee to one particular person. This was the Dutch ambassador named Johan Nieuwhof, who started adding milk to his coffee in 1660. He'd recently been on tour in China and he saw the elite of China adding milk to their tea, which most people didn't. And he thought, see if I can add milk to my coffee. So he started doing so.
The story I heard was that it was the French. And the French decided that they wanted to make coffee more French.
Sure.
So café au lait was a French invention.
Okay.
And they got to name it.
Right.
But anyway, believe either one.
Well, go for either. Go for both.
Yes.
Why not? And of course, that's why a cafe is called a cafe, because it means coffee. So it's a coffee house.
Good old French.
Good old French. Well done.
And you mentioned the Italians as well. You mentioned cappuccino.
Yeah.
And espresso. You know why cappuccino is called cappuccino?
I do. I love this fact, but go ahead.
So in order to make the perfect cappuccino, it has to be exactly the same colour brown as a Capuchin monk's robe.
Yes. That's right.
I mean, people think it's all about the capuchin monkeys, but the monkeys are named after the monks.
After the monks as well, yeah. So these capuchin or capuchin, I think, monks, prevalent in 16th century Italy, and they had these sort of these light brown robes. They also had these particularly long pointy hoods that sort of drooped down at the back, and those hoods were called cappuccio, which is why the monks were named capuchin after the hood. And then, as you say, the colour of the robe led to the coffee. The capuchin monkey is so called because the sort of ruff of hair around its head makes it look like it's sort of wearing a hood, like the capuchin monks. But the word cappuccino existed before the coffee was invented in relation to these monks. To dine al cappuccino was to eat frugally like a monk. To travel al cappuccino was to go on foot. Okay. That's what the monks did. So it was already a word before someone said, hey, this coffee looks the same colour as their robes, let's call it a cappuccino coffee.
He was in quite a few movies though, wasn't he, Al Cappuccino?
Al Cappuccino.
But it became quite a thing in Italy. And it became such a thing that the Pope got involved.
Oh, right, okay.
And the Pope thought, how can we make coffee more Christian?
Right.
I mean, apart from the fact that the good thing about coffee was that it wasn't alcohol.
Yeah.
And that it was supposed to be like good for sort of suppressing sexual desire and things like that. So, good for the church. And he talked about it and he said, this devil's drink is delicious.
That's brilliant.
And then he decided to baptize it.
Oh, right.
Yes, just to make it Christian.
Fine.
Because it's like, okay, this is the devil's drink, but we've got to make it Christian,
right.
So I'm going to baptize it.
And probably sort of started making a little cross shape in the foam.
When I was growing up, it was espresso coffee.
It was what?
Espresso, yeah.
Okay.
So I only learned sort of later on when I learned that it's not espresso, it's espresso.
Correct. Yeah. So people have a tendency to say espresso, thinking express, because it's a small coffee. You drink it quickly, express. But espresso is Italian for press or pressure. So the way an espresso is made is through tightly packed, very fine coffee grounds through which hot water is forced at high pressure. So it's called an espresso for pressure.
Okay.
A lot of them, the names do make sense. A latte is Italian for milk, so cafe latte is a milky coffee.
Yes.
A macchiato means stain or mark, because it's largely milk with a little stain of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's one in the Ottoman Empire. There's a place called Al Macere, which is where mocha comes from.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Which is coffee mixed with hot chocolate.
Yes.
Lovely.
We talked about coffee houses in other countries, especially in the Ottoman Empire and in Istanbul. So the first coffee house in London, I mentioned this guy. This is obviously Simon's hero.
Yes.
A guy called Pasquale Rosé, who opened the first coffee house in London.
Indeed.
Tell me a bit about Pasquale Rosé.
Just a really good backstory. This fella, Pasquale Rosé, was a servant who worked for a naval merchant in London called Daniel Edwards, who was living in Turkey in the 1600s, and Pasquale Rosé was his servant, and he made him his daily coffee and looked after his general needs. Edwards then moved back to London and brought Pasquale Rosé with him, and he sort of had lots of his chums come round for coffee, and this sort of became quite popular. He was one of the only people to have a servant in his employ who made it the traditional Turkish way. So he had lots and lots of people come round for coffee. It became so popular that his household was completely disrupted and he couldn't get on with his work. So he basically set Pasquale Rosé up with the funds to make his own coffee shop so that people could go and buy their coffee there rather than badgering around his house. And we know the site of this coffee shop. It was sort of a lean-to shed on the back of St Michael's Church on Cornhill in London. And there's a plaque there that coffee lovers can sort of go and make their pilgrimage to. 1658, Pasquale Rosé completely disappears. There's no more mention of him. We don't know where he goes. We don't know if he was successful, if he emigrated, if he died.
Was he murdered?
Who knows? There are some suggestions that there was some kind of skirmish that went on, or some kind of disreputable event that caused him to skip town. But interestingly, you said that the Pope said that coffee was a suppressant for sexual vigour.
Yes.
The Church of England at St Michael's Church in Cornhill, where Rosé had his shop, had the opposite view. They saw people coming and buying this life-giving, invigorating elixir for a mere penny, and it was actually sort of giving them the energy and the vigour to misbehave. St Michael's Church eventually threw the coffee shop off their premises because it was sort of starting to encourage illicit actions, shall we say, round the back of the coffee shop. There was a certain type of clientele who started to frequent the place. So the church sort of told them to hop it and find new premises, and the rest is history.
So he opened the first one in 1652.
Yeah.
By 1653, there were 82 coffee houses in London. And by 1736, which is basically less than 100 years later, there were 530 coffee houses in London.
Good grief. It took off, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. And people used to do weird things in them.
Okay.
So in one of the London coffee houses, Isaac Newton and Edmund Halley got together. It was called the Grecian Coffee House.
Right.
And they decided that they would demonstrate dissection in this coffee house. And what should they use? Have a guess.
Let's say it was a frog.
Okay, that's a good place to go. So you're in the right medium.
Okay.
But you're significantly smaller.
Am I? An alligator?
That's more the size. It was actually a dolphin.
No, really?
Yeah, it was a pretty much a live dolphin that they decided to dissect in a coffee house.
Oh, that's not good.
No, not at all. In fact, there are lots of things came out of coffee houses. When people were making decisions in coffee houses, they used a thing called a ballot box.
Okay, yes.
And each person put their vote of whether to do something or not into a ballot box.
Yeah.
So they originated in coffee houses.
That's brilliant.
Coffee's one of those things that's a bit sort of difficult to talk about, isn't it? Because it kind of, the people who were growing it were not necessarily the people who owned the plantations that it was on.
Yeah.
But all different European countries use different places. So the Brits used, generally, actually, they went to Ceylon.
Really?
They acquired Ceylon from the French in about 1815. So then they started growing coffee in Ceylon.
Right, okay.
But do you remember I talked about this disease, this rust?
Oh, yes, coffee rust, yeah.
So what happened was that coffee rust killed practically all of the coffee plants in Ceylon.
Right.
So the Brits went, what can we replace that with?
Tea.
That's what Ceylon's famous for.
Brilliant.
Or Sri Lanka. So the French went to Haiti and Suriname. They took their coffee there. The Dutch, believe it or not, they used to own a country called Java.
Oh, yes, of course they did, yeah.
And, of course, the Portuguese.
Yes.
Went to a country that they know quite well, where there's an awful lot of coffee.
In Brazil?
Oh, yeah.
As the song says.
So the Portuguese took their coffee to grow in Brazil.
Right.
In the 1870s, Brazil became the biggest producer of coffee in the world.
Really?
In 1890, 85% of the world's coffee came from Brazil.
Crikey.
Yeah.
Huh.
And in fact, Brazil was where they created Robusta,
Oh, okay.
the rust-resistant coffee. Yeah. But yeah, they've got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil. Do you remember the Americans? They had a bit of a tea party. Do you remember the Boston Tea Party?
I mean, I wasn't personally there.
So after they decided that they didn't want the tea, or certainly not to pay the tax on the tea without representation, they turned to coffee.
Yeah.
And since the Boston Tea Party, coffee has been a staple of American cuisine and beverages and all sorts. I mean, the Americans love their coffee.
They do, don't they? Yes. Cup of joe.
Oh, yeah. So shall we talk about Starbucks?
Yeah, go on then.
So when Starbucks opened in 1971 in Seattle, they just sold beans.
Oh, really?
They didn't sell, drinkable coffee or get your name wrong or anything like that.
They were a supplier.
They were literally just a bean supplier.
Right, okay.
But what they did was they started to roast the beans slightly differently and combine the beans differently. They made it more of a speciality.
Right, okay.
So they differentiated coffee so they could charge more for it.
Oh, I see.
So you take Starbucks roasted beans home,
Yeah.
but you go, oh, well, of course I only want the finest Arabica, roasted over whatever coal and wood chips and things. Starbucks kind of went from there.
Brilliant.
Until they became the behemoth that they are today.
I like the fact that if you mix up the name of Costa and Starbucks, you get Cost Bucks. Which is rather representative of the increasing prices of a coffee these days.
I mean, the Americans being fond of coffee is not new. There was a chap called John Arbuckle.
Good name.
Who was a Philadelphia grocer. Mm-hmm. He wanted to sell coffee, but he realised that coffee went off.
Oh, okay.
So he thought, how can I seal, once I've roasted the beans, how can I seal the beans so that they stay like fresh and perfectly ready to be roasted?
Yeah.
So first of all, he tried coating the roasted beans with a glaze, which consisted of Irish moss, gelatin, isinglass, white sugar and eggs.
Okay.
And it worked. Really? But he realised that a lot of it was actually not needed. So he eventually got it down to white sugar and eggs.
Right, okay.
So he would glaze the beans with a sort of a white sugar and egg thing. And that allowed him to ship roasted beans all over the USA.
Brilliant.
And he kind of went, how can I make people buy more packets of my beans? First of all, he did it by putting a peppermint in each bag of beans.
Okay.
So, like when people were, going west and they had chuck wagons and they were making coffee in the old Wild West, there'd be a cry goes up of who wants the peppermint, and that would be the person. If you said yes, then you were the person who had to grind the coffee.
Oh, right.
And they thought, okay, so that's cowboys sorted out. How can we get other people to buy more coffee? And he came up with this idea of a voucher plan.
Okay.
So what he did was he printed a coupon which had his signature on it on each package. And it's a bit like Green Shield stamps. So you collected Arbuckle vouchers and you could buy stuff. So in the catalogue, you had things like everything from a toothbrush to a double-action revolver. You could also buy tools, you could buy razors, and you could buy wedding rings.
Really?
Yeah. And at one time, they reckon they were mailing out 80,000 wedding rings a year.
No way.
And they were the biggest distributor of wedding rings in the world. And it was shipped in sturdy Maine fir crates. So this like fir wood was like 100 £1 bags per crate. And the crates were used to make everything from furniture, coffins, cradles, all sorts of things. And the Navajo Indians even used the wood to make hogans, which I'll show you a picture of in the show notes. And there was a trademark flying angel on each package of coffee. And people used to cut them out and put them on Christmas trees.
Oh, no way.
So Arbuckle's coffee is a great story, and I will put the whole story in the show notes. It's quite something.
That's brilliant. See, this is why this takes two of us. What one misses, the other picks up.
Yeah. So we think about George Clooney as being like a star that's the face of coffee.
Yes, lots of advertising and things that he does for a certain manufacturer.
Yes, well, we can say Nespresso. We're not on BBC.
No, it's fine.
But there are other stars who also use coffee.
Okay.
For example, Cindy Crawford, apparently, so I've heard, uses coffee to reduce cellulite and improve skin tone.
Really? By drinking it or by slathering it? Or
that I haven't heard. I think it's actually you rub it on your skin because I think the caffeine absorbed through the skin.
Yes, it sort of absorbs it, yeah.
So we've talked a lot about sort of roasted coffee. But it's very difficult to make and very dull. I mean, somebody must have invented a way of making it more quickly.
Yes, they did. You could almost call it instant. So instant coffee. The way instant or freeze-dried coffee is made is actually quite interesting. I'd never really looked into it until there was a particular TV show a handful of years ago called How It Works, I think. If I can find the episode, I'll put a link to it on the show notes.
Oh, please, yes.
And it's a lot more coffee-ish than I used to give it credit for. I thought it was totally fake. Essentially, they make a huge vat of coffee using pressurized steam, so it's fairly espresso-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's en masse. The coffee is ground quite roughly, so it's not top-grade quality, but it's, to an extent, it's made the same way that espresso is made. Then it's heated up so that it makes this kind of caramel-coloured sludge of coffee. That is then placed on a conveyor belt which goes into a freezer. The stuff is frozen at minus 50 degrees, so quite chilly.
Yeah.
So you end up with this slab of hard coffee.
A coffee icicle.
Yeah, sort
Or
of.
even a coffee lolly.
A coffee lolly. Perfect. It then goes through a grinder which grinds it into granules. And then the clever bit is that it's put into a vacuum and the water content is extracted through a process called sublimation. Mm-hmm. And the pressure of being in the vacuum means that the water content evaporates straight away without the granule actually turning to liquid.
Oh, right.
So it is literally freeze-dried. It's frozen and then it's dried. So what you end up with, those coffee granules are actually liquid coffee, but with the liquid removed. So then when you put them in a mug and you pour hot water in, you're reintroducing the liquid, so you've actually got coffee of sorts.
And who invented this?
This particular method was created by a fellow called David Strang in New Zealand in 1890.
Really?
So it's fairly old.
Wow.
Before then, we'd had sort of concentrated coffee mixtures during as far back as the American Civil War. Soldiers were sort of given this condensed coffee and milk and sugar mixture, which apparently was disgusting and had the texture of axle grease. Then you had a Scottish company come along in 1876 called Camp, and they made Camp coffee, which is sort of a liquid of coffee and chicory essence.
Still do.
I've only ever used it in making a cake. I don't think I could ever bring myself to make a cup of coffee with it. But then, yes, 1890, this freeze-drying process came along in New Zealand, and it's stuck around ever since. And it is a very good, quick, cheap, efficient way of getting your coffee fix, because it is coffee. It's not just sort of coffee-flavoured starch granules or anything like that. It is actually coffee.
I mean, I remember when I was young, it was coffee powder.
Oh, right, okay. And I believe you can get coffee powder again now, can't you? I think.
Can you?
Yeah, I haven't looked into how this works, but maybe it's just very, very fine granules.
Yes. You talked about the Americans not liking the taste when it went into the Civil War.
Yeah.
So Sharps, the people who made rifles, invented a coffee grinder.
Okay.
That was built into the butt of a Sharps rifle. They didn't make very many.
Brill.
I think they only made they were trying to make 100. I think they ended up making about 12.
Okay.
Not very many. But yeah, so there's basically a rifle, and I'll put a picture in the show notes, of a rifle that's got a coffee grinder in the butt of the rifle.
That's fantastic.
So that soldiers can grind their own coffee.
From the Civil War?
Yes.
Wow.
Which apparently was won because the North had coffee.
Right.
So the North was drinking about 10 cups of coffee a day. So their soldiers were like alert, awake, buzzing, whereas the South didn't have coffee.
Oh, right.
So there's a theory that the war was won by coffee.
Wow.
And then, when coffee started to become, powder and granules and things like that, people had to sell it.
Sure, yes.
And I remember from many years ago, there was a lot of advertising for Gold Blend.
Ah, yes.
Now, do you remember the Gold Blend couple, the sort of the will they, won't they, sort of upstairs, downstairs neighbours?
Yeah, that's right. Sort of shaking the coffee beans in their hand near their ear to check if it really sounded like coffee.
No, that was a different ad.
Oh, was it? Or am I mixing my
Yes.
ads? What was that?
That's Kenco.
That was Kenco, right, yes.
Yes. And Kenco did some ads which used the Steptoes.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Huh.
They used father and son Steptoes from the TV show.
Yeah.
And in America, there's a company called Wilkins Coffee who did some very bizarre commercials. I mean, really bizarre. And you look at them and you go, those characters look familiar to me. And then when you realise that actually those characters and those commercials were made by a man called Jim Henson before he'd even thought about Sesame Street or Muppets or anything.
Really?
So the first characters that Jim Henson made were for Wilkins Coffee.
That's brilliant. So indirectly, coffee has given us the Muppets.
Yes.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks.
So coffee shops kind of disappeared a bit. Once we've had the stock exchange and the insurance industry.
Yeah.
But then they had a massive revival in the 1950s in the UK with the return of the coffee bar.
Oh, right.
And frothy coffee.
Yes.
And there were loads of young people would meet up in coffee bars and listen to skiffle music, and there'd have to be a jukebox and a Gadget machine. And it was really the cool place to be. It was so cool that there was a whole movie made about a guy who was a young musician who was discovered in a coffee shop.
Okay.
And then was sort of exploited and taken on the road and things. And the young man, whose name was Herbert, was played by a young musician called Cliff Richard.
Oh, really?
And the backing group for Herbert was the Shadows.
So, coffee has given us the Muppets, the United States of America, and Cliff Richard and the Shadows.
Yes.
Wow.
The only record that I could find was the amount of, I found a couple of records. One was that Voltaire drank 20 cups of coffee a day, which is quite a lot.
Yes, it is.
I think these are probably espressos, but 20 espressos a day is quite
that's
a lot. But I also discovered that there's the most expensive coffee goes through a cat.
Oh, yes, I've heard of this. Go on.
So the bean is passed through an Asian civet. So basically the cat eats the beans or eats the whole thing, and then the beans come out the back of the cat.
Lovely.
And then you collect the beans at the back, and it's about $600 a pound.
Oh, my goodness.
This is it's the most expensive coffee I could find.
So it's not the brand or the variety of the coffee that's particularly interesting. It's just the way it's been processed through the civet's digestive system.
It's the way it's been processed through a civet. But I'm sure there are loads of other records.
Yes, there are quite a lot of them, actually. I picked a few. The largest cup of coffee ever made, according to the Guinness World Records.
Was it a cup?
Yeah. So it was
actually a cup?
It was actually a ridiculously large cup.
Okay.
So the cup was 3.5 metres in diameter.
Is it a swimming pool?
No, it was a cup.
Okay.
They actually made a cup.
Wow.
3.5 metres in diameter, just over 3 metres tall. This cup contained 26,939 litres of coffee.
How many cups is that?
I don't know. How many regular sized cups? I don't know.
Hang on. Say
27,000 litres of coffee.
27,000 litres. So that's 162,000 cups of coffee.
Goodness me. I love the way you just did that maths mentally on the fly there. That was amazing.
I know.
Wow.
I'm clever like that.
And this record was achieved by Tonic World Center in Mexico in 2022. Just because they could, I think. Really?
Fair enough.
There's a record for the fastest time to drink a cup of coffee, standard average size cup of coffee, 2.81 seconds. It was hot as well, so no cheating by making it cold.
Oh, wow.
Achieved by André Ortolf of Bavaria in Germany just last year, 2024. And I found a record for the most cappuccinos made in an hour, 420.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This was achieved by Lisa Thomas in Australia. And this is quite a charming story, actually. She was an ex-service person, and she started working for a newly opened cafe owned by the RSL Club, which is the Returned and Services League of Australia.
Okay.
And they had a cafe called the Social Cafe, which was sort of an organisation to support men and women coming back from
returning from
military service.
Yeah.
And so she did this record to sort of promote the place. And this social cafe has a slogan which is absolutely lovely. A place to gather in friendship, graze from each other's plates without thought, and to share in the love of good food, good wine, and even better company. And they have the record for the most cappuccinos served in an hour.
How sweet.
Quite great. That's my records. Well, I think that's all the coffee-related facts I have.
Is that not enough?
No, indeed. Let's do episode number 2 another time.
But thank you very much for listening. We do appreciate that this one has been quite long.
Yes, well done.
Yes, congratulations. You probably have had to have a coffee just to get to the end of it.
Yeah, indeed. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would be most grateful if you could go and give us a lovely, shiny 5-star review on your podcast player of choice.
That's very nice. And a like as well, and a subscribe.
Yep.
I mean, you probably already subscribe anyway, but if you don't, then press the button, and every Thursday you'll get another dose, another shot of Factoraly.
Perfect. What could be better? Please tell all of your nerdy friends about this. If you have any coffee lovers or just factophiles, then tell them all about this show so that they can come and join in the fun.
Excellent. So thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time on Factoraly.
Goodbye.
Au revoir.